Checkity check.
Here we are.
Not gonna do the intro.
The intro? Oh, I didn't put it on here on this time. I put it in post.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the Bad Dad Podcast with Sly Patillo and Tyler Boyer. I totally said your name wrong, didn't I?
It's all right. Portillo.
With Sly Portillo.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect,
right
man. Well, awesome. Let's jump on into this thing.
I'm totally editing that out, by the way.
All right. You better edit it out. It'll be super awkward. That's for the Patreon, the rough cuts, the embarrassing stuff.
Oh, my gosh. So here we are, episode 1.
Awesome, man. I'm super excited to be here.
Dude, I am too. We've waited a long time to get here.
We were setting up and working and prepping and doing everything we need to do to get this podcast. Hopefully, we can create something that is special and something that can benefit a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah,
I think for those of you who don't know us, everybody, this is a journey for all of us. You'll get to know us, I'm sure, obviously throughout us doing more episodes. But this has been a passion for not only myself, but for Sly also.
Yeah.
And it's man, very thankful for, like just God's will in things, and patience is key, especially I feel like when you got big ideas.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So Tyler, just introduce yourself. Just kind of give us, give the listeners just kind of a quick, just overview of who you are, right? And how, obviously Bad Dad Podcast. So how many kids you have and so on and so forth.
All right. So Tyler Boyer, 28 years old. So holding it down dad life of two. I almost did that. 2.
Don't say 3, bro. Your wife will go ahead and be ready for that.
Please don't. Got 2 babies. Got a 4-year-old boy. Got a little baby girl. It's not 1 yet, but that's what we're living. I'm a musician. That's kind of like my main thing, and work in oil and gas. And just, man, I'm big picture kind of guy. I got a lot of big ideas. I'm kind of notorious for like having these big ideas and like, oh man, I'm gonna do this, and just not really having the not necessarily like the drive to do it, because I got plenty of drive. It's just being able to have the time to do stuff. And so, had the idea for Bad Dad Podcast starting out as the idea. I found the notes from it actually the other day.
Okay.
And it was Dad Squad. That's what I had it down as. And I looked through it. It was back in September of 2021 is when I wrote everything out. But prior to that, I had this idea for a thing called Couch Coach, which was, interesting. So we'll see, maybe that enters its way in at some point, but it's more of a sports talk thing. So I was just kind of, reading over Dad Squad, and was like, man, I love podcasts. I'm a big podcast guy. I know you are also, right?
Yeah.
Rogan's my guy. Love Joe Rogan. Love buzzing with the boys, with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan. Love Julian Dorsey. He's got one that's really good. So, all the main guys really enjoy it. And so I was like, I feel like I could do that.
Yeah.
I feel like I like to talk, right? So, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do it. And so I was thinking my background in content creating, just short, is gaming. Hypergravity Gaming was my organization that me and my buddy Patrick Blake started. And, our goal was just to lift up content creators that were smaller. And we had a platform of over 100 people that we did on Discord through COVID, and sponsors. We had a whole community. And that's, I feel like content doesn't change. You have to be niche. If you want to be successful, you've got to have your niche, and you have to either, they always say one of 2 things. Either you're really good at a video game, right? And that's why people want to watch you, or you've got really good content. So we weren't really good at video games, but we had some good content, and we were niche, right? And so I feel like the same thing here, who's doing this?
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean? What is it? We really don't know what's going on. Bad Dad Podcast, the name Bad Dad is a play on society's view of successful, whether you're a dog dad, whether you're a dad of one, none, future dad, career-driven individual, says that you can't be present in your home life, and that, there's a very big, I think, stigma of whether it's divorce, separation, failed marriages in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, of men that you're like, oh yeah, well, you're successful, that's why.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of others that's not the case.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, the name kind of makes fun of that narrative that no, like we're not bad dads.
Yeah.
Like we bad dads,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was watching a TED Talk today, talking, so like a divorce lawyer. It's a woman divorce lawyer, and she has an all-female team, but she represents dads in court cases. She like kind of sides with the dads. And the main reason why is like she kind of goes through a story of like how impactful her dad was. Like they're doing, like she wanted to buy something, and it was Easter time. And so, obviously there's the money egg, right?
Right.
You put the money in and go hide it or whatever like that. But instead of doing the money egg, he did a turd egg, which I'm definitely gonna take that. I got big dogs, and so I'm definitely gonna drop a couple turds in that. And so he hid it really, really well to make it seem like it was the money egg.
Right.
And she opens it up, and here comes this turd rolling out. But she goes, that moment was so impactful for her and her relationship with her father. Kind of her father kind of sharing with her like, hey, you can put all this hard work in, but you know what? Like sometimes you still get crappy results, even though you're putting all that hard work in. And so through that, she starts talking about like how important dads are. She goes through all the statistics and things like that, which is stuff we will eventually share, as we continue going on. But she starts to like even start saying like, hey, like just imagine your life without your dad.
Right.
Like, and how impactful that is. Like we've all been impacted. We've all been changed. We've all been kind of influenced by our fathers.
Right.
And so she talks about how she sees these things in these court cases and how so many times dads get mistreated and things like that. But she just ultimately just kind of this idea. It's her challenge is not to say, hey, if you're a divorcee dad, like this is how you need to. No, but it's more of just like dads are important. And how can we as a society support dads, give dads kind of like the help that they need, because we don't typically talk about that.
No.
Like, right. And it's sometimes you look like a punk, right? You look like a sucker,
right?
If you look for help, needing some help. But man, I can just tell you for myself, like my dad is an immigrant, father. He loved me, but he loved me to the best of his ability and knowledge. Like there was a lot of cultural context stuff that my dad just did not understand.
Sure.
Right. And so because of that, like here I am, like I'm in this world, right? I'm not enough. I'm not American enough to be considered American, but also not Hispanic Latino enough to really be accepted by the Latinos. And so here I am in this world trying to navigate all this stuff. My dad not fully knowing how to raise me, how to kind of influence me. And my dad did a stellar job, right? He loved me well and cared me well. But when I'm now a dad, like it's like really hard to go to my dad with advice, because like now my dad is, he's older now. He loves my kids. It's great. But like my dad's like, well, I worked hard, got all this money. So the best I can tell you is just throw money at it and fix the problems. And that's not it. Like, that as well as I do. Like, that's not the best way to, kind of do that. And so, I think this is important, right? To be able to find a safe place, even if it's just in the safety of your car,
right?
In some AirPods at the gym, or in your office or whatever. Just kind of say, hey, like we're with you. You're not a bad dad, but yeah, you're a bad dad. So with that and kind of that thought in mind, like you kind of shared of why, but bro, can you break us down like why we are like why should people listen to us? Like what makes us different? Because like don't get me wrong, you hit it, like there's all these different podcasts and things like that, but like you could probably make this up with a whole bunch of different dude podcasts, right?
Sure.
Like different man podcasts and things like that. So what makes us special? Why should people devote an hour of their time, maybe less, maybe more of their time, to listen to us on a regular basis?
So I think that's like there's a few parts to that, right? So first of all, I think it's realness and transparency in everyday people. Like for instance, like a lot of these guys, they want to go and grab like well-known, celebrities of some sort, right? And it's hard to relate sometimes. Yeah. And you don't know them, but we're just regular dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, from you're a little bit older than me, and you've got, you need to explain, kind of go into your story too. We'll get to that in a minute, but you've got 3 kids, and I've got 2, a little bit different places in our life, but also in similar places, right? And I think that that's the beauty of being able to relate. Like, okay, these guys are just like me, right? This is real advice, real, things that we've gone through that hopefully we can put into a podcast to not only get some of that, be able to maybe help somebody in an area where they're going through in their life, but also too, maybe trim down like having to go to all those podcasts by mixing in things that guys like.
That's true.
I mean, we're major sports heads, and you guys will find that out. And talking to some of that. I mean, I'm a big Jets fan. We're both huge Astros fans. and I keep up with just about every sport. I mean,
Yeah.
this year I started following hockey.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't do hockey, dude. I can do soccer. I can't do hockey.
See, I can't do soccer.
Really?
It's hard. I don't know it. I'm a big Gretzky guy. Like the Gretzky legacy is always like, interest me. So it's kind of like, all right, my buddy Joe is like a big hockey guy, big New Jersey Devils fan. And so I was like, all right, dude, like I'm going to do it this year with you. I'm going to watch it. Cause he always tells me there's nothing like playoff hockey. There's nothing like it. I'm like, oh yeah. Dude, it's wild.
Yeah, I got two friends that are really into hockey, big time into hockey. One's a Stars fan, the other one's a Rangers fan, and so they're always telling me about it. And I'm just like, bro, I just can't do it. Like, I find it boring, bro. Like I ain't trying to diss, but like I just find it boring.
It's a good year to be a Stars and a Rangers fan this year.
That's what I'm hearing in the group chats. I don't know, bro.
Rangers just made a major trade
like
yesterday.
I'm just like, yo, bro. Like if I'm gonna see a fight, like I just rather watch UFC clips.
I get it. Hey, for all you OGs here in the H-Town, bro, the Arrows games.
I know, bro. I went to a couple of those games.
Those were awesome. I went to like a bunch of them when I was a kid. Always a fight.
Yeah, but you were saying, to get back on track. So you were saying,
so basically, we're gonna incorporate that.
Yeah,
running on that rabbit, kind of chasing a rabbit in that, to say we're pretty diverse in like what we keep up with. And, we're also going to, kind of mix in some fun stuff. We're going to keep it light also. But, I think it's going to be good content. And I think at the same time, we're passionate. We're both got that in common. Like we're both driven to whatever we do it with excellence.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think all those things incorporated, is there better podcasts? I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to find two individuals like us.
Yeah. It's funny because as we were kind of getting this thing started and getting this thing rolling, like I just want to thank you and appreciate you because I know this is kind of your brainchild and you put a lot of like energy and thinking, like, you've been sitting on this for about 2 years now and being able to kind of kick it off and things like that. But as we were kind of working on things and stuff like that, like there's nothing really out there. We were kind of signing up for social media. So go follow us. It is a shameless plug. So follow us. But as we're setting everything up, like really like dad podcast, like you see other people trying, other people doing that. But by and large, man, we're able to just BadDadPod, like left and right. There's on the Instagram, there was the only one that we'll share that story for another day. Yeah. But pretty much by and large, every single thing was just really easy because there's really nothing like this. There's nothing from dads talking to another dads kind of sharing kind of, man, this is where it's at. This is where the struggle's at. Cause like it's tough, man. Like, I mean, I love my kids to death.
Right.
And I know hopefully one day they'll listen to this, but it's tough raising them. Yeah. Right. Like it's difficult. Sometimes, man, you just want to take a dump and be by yourself and just kind of stroll, watch different videos on Instagram or something, right? Like Bleacher Report highlights or whatever, you know, House of Highlights. And all of a sudden, man, you just got kind of get a little peek in and it's like, hey, what you doing in here? I'm like, man, like you don't get time to yourself and things like that, right? And the struggle of being a provider and loving your kids and caring for your kids and also loving your wife and doing all that. And then again, if you're listening and you don't have a wife, again, we still feel like this is a place for you because ultimately, even guys that don't have kids, like we want to just kind of call that dad in you, right? Because we hope that one day you'll be a dad, or secondly, man, you could maybe be a dad type figure to individuals in your areas. Because man, this area of fatherhood is such an important area,
right? I mean, one thing that you've mentioned in our discussions, and I love it, is it's good to have people that you can pour into, whether that's your biological son, a spiritual son, just a prodigy, if you will, for lack of better terms. It's good because I think as men, I think it's instinctual. We like to talk about, what we're good at. Yeah. And I think to be able to pass things down and to be able to help, I think it doesn't matter how, like what background you come from, like there's a release in a sense to be able to express your struggles and the things that you've dealt with and the things that you're, in positive and negative of how, you can help somebody through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like as you talked about that, it just kind of rung to my mind. Like, so I'm a minister, right? And that's what I do for a living. And obviously this is not like a ministry podcast or anything like that, but we will bring in kind of spirituality and things like that from time to time. But man, you kind of see this idea and kind of already laid out in the Bible, this idea of the father kind of being like the leader. And when you look at society, kind of like society's finally kind of catching up with this idea, you're seeing like more and more studies kind of say, yo, like if you don't have a dad, like you're going to be pretty messed up.
Sure.
You're going to be pretty messed up. And so I think for us, it's like uber important, right? Why you should listen and doing like that. Like it's uber important to be challenged, to be better at. Like as I was kind of prepping for this today and things like that, I was just kind of looking at like my past week, just kind of running through my head, like, man, how have I been like a good dad or a bad dad, right? No pun intended, like this past week. And man, I tell you, man, like I feel like I struck out way more than I made contact, right? And so I think for all of us, man, we all need those constant reminders to be present. We need those constant reminders of like, hey, this is what you should be doing, right? And we also just sometimes maybe need to be educated or just told something like, hey, this is how you can live your life and bring your kids involved, or how you can start living your life now for that day when you have kids, or you have somebody in your life that you're mentoring or pouring into to do that. And so I think this is vitally important for anybody listening to just kind of say, yo, like where, if I'm a dad, where can I grow? And if you're not a dad, hey, still, where can I grow in that area?
And I think the beautiful thing too with like a podcast like this is you, the listeners, you get to help us kind of navigate what this turns into.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the feedback on, hey, man, we really like enjoyed that. You know, I think some of the things we've talked about doing is having these key topics.
Absolutely.
And kind of just, the bulk of it will be about a topic, but we're going to have that entertainment, you know, we'll call it banter, call it just what's going on, what's interesting to mix in.
Got to. I think for like most, at least men, I heard a study once talking about like men, for example, like men are not known for sharing their feelings or anything like that. But like the study was done like they're out of the group that ends up sharing the most, right? Everybody thinks it's young teenage girls, right? They kind of studied all this and everybody's like, oh, it's teenage girls. They definitely share more about their lives and their issues way more than anybody else. But it was actually kind of like late adolescent young men, right? They're being done with each other, playing video games. They're being stupid, and they kind of stop and take a break and kind of get really, really deep. And then all of a sudden they stop and kind of go back to doing what they're doing. Like us guys, like we can get deep. We can get, it's going to be in the middle of a lot of dumb stuff, right? Because we're going to talk about a lot of dumb stuff. But then we're going to kind of try to hit at the core of like who we are, like at the heart and things like that. And again, I don't claim to be a dad expert. I'm not a counselor or anything like that. I mean, you're not either. And it's just kind of life and how life has kind of beat us up and kind of going on the journey. And maybe you're an older guy listening saying, yo, why should I listen to these kind of young whippersnappers, right? And listen to these guys. And this is a cool thing that me and you have talked about. Like our goal is to also bring other guys that, man, are towards the end of their race, right? That are really maybe successful in business, or man, we got a professional athlete that we're going to try to bring in and share kind of his journey of how he's a dad while he's away at all these different games and things like that. Like we want to bring in other people that are experts in certain areas, right? That we're not, and just kind of talk about like what life is like, what business is like, and also if it applies, like what dadhood is like. So.
Yeah. Again, all great things. You know, something you're talking about is like, you know, the vulnerability of the, you know, younger guys and like, you know, late night stuff. It just, you know, I think I've shared this with you. Like one of the most eye-opening things for me was a couple years ago, me and my wife were volunteering at our church, and we were over the senior boys. And it was we have a thing at our church called Breaking Free, really awesome. First Baptist Pasadena.
Plug
in, and the guys, man, like they were all gamers, and I was a gamer. I mean, I love gaming. Like that's just what I grew up with. And so, like, dude, can't tell you how many times like we'd be gaming at night, and like there are some nights, obviously, like, you know, you just can't do it, and some nights where you just feel kind of like, man, I know that these guys are going through something. And I just got to stay up a little later. And thank God for the wife that I have to be understanding to that.
Absolutely.
And having these late night conversations where you just don't think like, you know, wives just be aware sometimes, you know, that those opportunities do happen over video games. I know that's a hot topip sometimes in marriage.
Absolutely.
Because it is in mine, and we can talk about that down the road. But, you know, there are opportunities that become unconventional
Yeah.
that you have the ability to do those types of things.
Yeah, I think it'd be a cool goal, right? Is like having cats that listen to it maybe in an office or maybe a small group setting or things like that. As they're listening on their own, they're like, "Yo, have you listened to the Bad Dad podcast?" Right, and it spurs
Right.
conversation on about their own lives. I think that'd be really really cool
Yeah.
for something like that to happen. Again, like we're not experts, but man, if you
No.
can get the conversation going and flowing and moving
Yeah.
amongst some dudes where they can begin to share their hearts and where they're at, man, dude, I think that'd be a dub. That'd be a big win, and man, just like I would say is like a success if
Sure.
you ask me.
And it's hard to get those conversations going, and it's a lot more
Absolutely.
difficult than I think for some people than you realize. Because I don't know about yourself, but for me, one thing that I've struggled with and I've had to grow as a man, as a father, as a husband, is not to internalize things.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a common thing for us men is we think because we're men we've got to hold it in.
Yeah.
And we got to figure it out ourselves. And you don't have to. Like
Absolutely.
there's plenty of people going through the same thing. And I think it's sometimes, at least for me, it's good. You know, I've ran across podcasts where somebody's talked about something and I'm like, man, it's good to know like I'm not the only one going through.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just the comfort that I'm not this 1%, right? There's others.
Yeah.
But before we go any further,
Yeah.
share your story, dude.
Yeah, so my name is Sly Portillo. You know, so Portillo. That's it. And so overall, man, I feel like I'm a jag, right? Just a guy, man. I'm nothing really too crazy, too fancy. I am a minister, like I mentioned earlier. It took me a while to kind of get in. Didn't really want to go to college or pursue that route or anything like that. Just had some dudes invest into my life and say, "Yo, I see this in you," right? Kind of call that out, right, and help me out and supported my family, my dad as well. You know, I got into this ministry thing, met my beautiful wife, Michelle, love her to death. And then we have 3 kids, right? And so I'm over here. Again, I got invited by you to do this. We're just hanging out, just kind of get to know each other, right? And through this, we just started talking about podcasts and different podcasts that we like and stuff like that. And then one day we were having coffee. I was like, yo, bro, like, what if we started a podcast? And he's just kind of throwing out all these different ideas. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, whatever. But then when you said about the Bad Dad podcast, I was like, yo, like I think there's something there. Like I feel like there could be something there.
Right.
Not that I'm a dad expert, right? Like, man, I feel like like I said earlier, man, I feel like I strike out way more than I actually make contact, right? But man, like I feel that, you know, through my mistakes, and I'm not saying that I'm a horrible dad, right, and kick my kids down the stairs or anything like that. I do not do that, right? But you know, I feel that these are opportunities for us just to be able to share.
Yeah.
Like again, just to find common ground with like another common dad, find common ground with other dads, right? And just be able to kind of again challenge myself to say, yo, like I want to be a better dad. I want to continue to be and grow as a dad. And like I said, I'm just starting off, right? I got a 7-year-old, I got a 3-year-old, and I got as of yesterday, got a 1-year-old, right? And so, you know, I'm just starting off in the grand scheme of things, right? And I know we probably my goal is that hopefully we have guys listening that are in their 50s, 60s, and you know they got kids my age, right? And so, you know, overall, I feel that this is a good opportunity. Again, I do like podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I've also kind of felt challenged, you know, through this journey and us talking, like I was sick and tired of just consuming. I spent a lot of time just like on TikTok, on YouTube, watching, you know, podcast clips or podcast or TikToks and things like that. It's like, you know, what if I just started producing some stuff, right? Like just not consume, but start producing.
Right.
And so this for me is also a journey of just trying to go a different route. Like you've kind of already done that. I really haven't done that. I mean, I've done like sermon, like podcast, things like that, and gotten some listens and stuff like that. But this is completely different, right? This is something that like trying to, you know, work on a calendar and plan out a season and kind of sit down and kind of scheduling and things like that, like, and kind of get this thing going. And, you know, it's been different. It's been fun. And so my challenge is also as well to kind of help other guys like, yo, if you have a dream or something like that, yo, jump on it, get on it. Like you ain't going to know if it's going to be good until you give it a try. So,
yeah. And I think it's crazy too. Like when you do like really flush out ideas, really kind of, again, the beginning, we were talking about just patience and then finding the right people. Because we've experienced it with this. Stuff falls together and just starts rolling. And it's like, dude, how are we already like getting this? Like,
Yeah.
how is this happening? You
Yeah.
know, like the Instagram account again, like we can talk about that later, but that's an example of like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. You never know what begins to fall into place and stuff like that until you give it a try.
Right.
You know? So yeah, that's kind of where that's kind of my story. That's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, man, I'm super excited to be a part of this, man. Again, thanks again for letting me kind of just be part of this and kind of get this thing going and get this thing rolling, dude. I'm pretty excited, and I hope anybody listening is excited too. Like this is just the preview. This is just the beginning. We hope to kind of hit you with the next week with some pretty hard hitting. I say hard hitting stuff, but we're gonna just dive into some different topics. Again, we're gonna kind of mess around as well and do all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Super excited to have you on here too, man. Really, very much so. And you guys love to see in the comments, like, what do you want to see? What are you excited for? What are what are your expectations? Socials, BadDadPod at BadDadPod. We got Instagram,
Facebook,
YouTube.
YouTube is Bad Dad Podcast.
Bad Dad Podcast.
Someone did have Bad Dad Pod. It's all right though.
Hey,
Bad Dad Podcast.
Yeah.
That's where you can find us on YouTube.
And we're going to be putting some cool stuff up there, man.
Yeah. And then we'd love for you to join our Patreon. We're going to have some Discord groups and different things like that, different kind of conversations. Again, we want to interact with people and things like that. But also, it's mostly because we're starting off, like you could go the free route and interact with us on Instagram, right? Or you could pay, and for paying is just more to support us, kind of get some cool things. We got some cool ideas. I ain't going to spoil much, as we continue to move forward, but we got some really cool ideas, and to be able to do anything like that's gonna be kind of pretty cool and awesome. We're gonna need some support, and so we'd love to do that. We're everything that we're right now, at least in this stage, any money we get, we just want to pump it right back into the podcast. And so, I mean, I got a job, you got a job, and so it's not like we need the money. I think it's more just to kind of do some pretty cool things with the podcast.
Yeah, and we appreciate in advance the support. Hopefully we can make good on the investments that you guys do make.
Absolutely, right? We got to, man. We got to. So that's overall, man, like kind of, I think just kind of overall in general, like what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Episode 1 is not going to be super crazy. I feel. I think it's more just kind of introducing you to the podcast and introducing us to you. Now, some of you may already know us, and you're thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. I'm glad to see this. I hope you're not falling asleep or anything like that, right? Hopefully, you may, right? But overall, I hope that this begins, I think, a really cool journey. For not only us, but for you as well.
Right. So that's awesome. To kind of pivot.
Yeah.
We kind of got cut off during our screen test, which was,
man.
We were talking, I don't know if you remember, but sports wise, guys, there's something coming up this week actually going on. Is the NFL Combine.
Absolutely, dude. I'm pretty excited. Hopefully it's a turnaround for my team. I'm a Texans fan. I'm one of these guys. Like, I'm from H-Town, so I support all H-Town teams, and things like that. Like, I can't stand and I'm sorry if you're one of these people. I can't stand them. Please don't stop listening because of that. Be like, oh, I can't stand you and quit listening to us, right? But man, just like guys that are not from like I'm gonna go ahead and say it, Houstonians that are Dallas Cowboys fans. Can't stand that. I'm like, yo, bro, like, come on, bro. Like, come on. Like, we're from H-Town. And they're like, oh, I love the Astros. I love Dynamo. Like, I love, dude, I love, and I'm like, bro, don't say that you're a hardcore Houston. You're not cheering the Texans on. I get it. We're trash, right? But like, so are the Rockets, and you're still cheering for the Rockets, right? So, anywho, I am a Texan fan through and through because I'm from H-Town.
You can tell about, like, if you're a true, like Houston Texans fan. You ask any Houston Texans fan, how do you feel about that you do not have the ability on, like, the AFL or not the AFL, but like the throwback.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can't wear Oilers.
I know, man.
That enrages any true Texans fan.
If you know who Bud Adams is,
there you go.
Right. If you know who Bud Adams is, then you may be a true Texan fan.
Maybe a true Texans fan.
So, anywho, that's me, man. Like, I'm a Texan fan, so I'm pretty excited. Got the coach that I wanted.
Ryan's.
Hopefully, we get the players that I'm hoping for in the draft.
Right.
And do that. I originally wanted Bryce. Bryce a little too short. Kind of scares me.
We
were
talking about that this week. He's small.
Yeah, dude. Someone posted a video today, and like, it was him walking with this tight end, and like, for reference, his tight end is 5'10". And Bryce looks way shorter.
Oh, man.
I'm a short dude. I may be taller than Bryce. Now, I'm not as athletic, so I got to shut my mouth, moving forward. But, yeah.
Dude, they had some guys like there's a lot like not Mel Kiper, but Tom McShay was one of them. Dan Orlovsky, another that I listened to this week, and just I mean, really hyping up Bryce Young and saying like the talent there is just almost so good that you take the risk. And I'm part of me is like, you had guys that were out on Kyler.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you that. But here's another question. I'm curious. When do like guys stop growing? Right? So like if he got a couple years and maybe we can grow an inch or two, like, hey, like maybe that's an investment.
Sure.
I think it's what 25 they say drop in the comments when men stop growing. But I think it's 25 and he's not 25 yet.
No, he's not.
This is wishing well. Right.
For sure.
This is wishing well. I don't think we get him though. I really truly believe the Bears trade.
You think
trade
so?
up? I think they trade up. I think they trade up.
Interesting.
I think they trade up. I think they get the best package. Texans stay where they're at, and we go a different route.
That will be interesting to see. I'm actually in the opposite boat. I don't think the Bears are going to. I know that's the big debate, but I don't think that I think they're going to move down. I think right. But I don't think. I think if something's gonna like a trade will be made, I think it's gonna be draft night.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it'll be.
I think so too.
Last minute. But then the interesting thing is, where does Justin Fields go?
I think he stays.